We need to stop saying that white people don't have culture because it actually helps.
Oh yeah, guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing good. When people talk about culture in America, the conversation gets complicated. The conversation gets controversial and very much hot, especially when white Americans say we have a culture too. So in this video, this is what we are going to dive into. Is white American culture real or just a myth? In this video, we have a heated debate erupting when white Americans assert their cultural identity only to face fierce backlash and skepticism. Oh yeah, so guys, I'm just going to roll these clips, then I'll be coming back with more commentaries. In case of any thoughts, kindly let me know in the comment section. Stay tuned.
So you don't think white people have a culture?
Not in America. At least I don't think it's a culture they should be proud of.
So what about like Christmas and holidays? Isn't that white people's culture?
American culture, I feel. It is.
It comes from like Roman pagans and things like that, ancient.
But that's the same thing with black people though. Those aren't our white people. Like how you started talking about Sudanese, African. Those are black people, but we're still African American. You know what I mean? That's its own separate subculture. So with these white people that we have here, even though they're both white, they're still taking something that wasn't theirs. They're not.
We're all technically white. Yeah. If you're from England, if you're from Australia, if you're from wherever, South Africa, you know, we all have these crazy places we come from and these people are around and we get those ideas from those people. But that doesn't mean us as a whole have no culture.
But as a white person, it's not really a culture. You can have culture, like I'm hella Irish, obviously, and that's a culture. But just being white is not it's not a culture. I can't relate to you just because you're white.
I think you could say that for any ethnicity though. If we were all black, could I relate to you guys if just because of the color of our skin?
Yes, because they go through very similar experiences, like they'll get discriminated against, and you're not getting discriminated against because of your skin color. They can both relate to that.
Can you be racist against white people and can you be sexist against men?
No.
You can't be racist against white people.
No. That's reverse racism, and I don't believe that exists.
Let's say we were in China.
Okay.
Could people in China be racist against white people in China?
We have like no culture, so like
what's
the racism about?
White people have no culture?
What's the culture?
I want to hear it.
Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin.
Mozart was black.
Beethoven.
Okay, well maybe
white Americans is what you mean.
Culture.
What?
Yes, they do. They brought culture from Europe, and then inside of the United States, all over, you can see collectives of this from Europeans who settled in the South, which has some of its own unique culture. If you go west, it has its own unique culture, and then on the East Coast, same thing. So yeah, they brought over a lot of things, but it was a hodgepodge of European heritages. So there's definitely some culture here in the U.S. for sure.
Don't you think it's kind of racist to say white people don't have culture?
What's the culture? What's the culture? I'm genuinely curious. Like when you think white people culture in America, what is it? Potato salad, Starbucks, PSL?
I've had it with white people that triple trumped, that have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant. I really genuinely believe that if you triple trumped, then you are all about preserving the lack of culture in white America that has led us to where people go and Bible thump with their AR-15s. Like that's the only thing that I see when you get all white people together in the United States. There's no culture at all. So they have to go borrow culture from people. Even the word woke, they've borrowed from black culture. I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel. Quit watching NBA basketball. Quit watching sports that are dominated by African Americans. Quit going to Mexican restaurants. You want white culture, you go fucking live in it. But do not participate in any of the shit that makes America cool. And what makes America cool is multiculturalism. And if you want to triple Trump and you want to browbeat DEI and you want to browbeat gay people and you want to browbeat black people as you've been doing for 400 years. And you want to browbeat this generation of immigrants that come over here and open up businesses earnestly, pay their taxes. You want to demonize them and call them rapists and felons and all this shit when the felon is the teeny weeny mushroom cock piece of shit, Kankles McTaco tits at the top of the ticket. I have fucking had it from top to bottom. White people that triple Trump should be banned, boycotted from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. Get your fat asses out of the Mexican restaurant. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, because nobody wants to see your fucking smug ass, teeny weeny, pink arm, big gut around. Nobody wants to see that shit.
White people culture is pretending to not understand the difference between a personal bias and systemic racism. Racism is not just a personal feeling in your heart, right? It's a process by which systems, policies, actions, and attitudes create inequitable opportunities and outcomes for people based on race. And by now, we should all know this stuff, right? And if you don't know, it's because you've been neglecting yourself, right? Because think about it, like, apps have to be updated. When you have a job, you have to maintain your credentials by learning all the newest stuff that comes out, right? All the latest developments in your field. And people's brains work in the same way too. So those of you who have neglected your brains don't get to change the meaning of words just because you don't like what they mean or what they might imply about you. What do I mean? Well, racism has a very specific definition. It's not just hating X people, right? If you hate X group of people, you have a bias, right? You're a bigot, sure. But you're missing the most important part of the definition, right? It has always been structural. People with zero hate in their heart can contribute to structural harms that have adverse effects on people of color. Now hear me, especially white people who generally have more power collectively, hear me, collectively as a whole in society. Everyone is capable of contributing to structural harms against a certain group of people, right? Say black people, right? Even black people can contribute to structural harms against black people. We do it all the time because our society is set up that way. Anyway, white culture is hearing me having said all that and then going, nah, I don't like what that lady professor said or how she said it. And man, am I white supremacist.
So you said a lot, but you're kind of missing the entire point of us saying white people don't have a culture. The point of white supremacy is to be cultureless. Yes, and that point you are right, but they did that for a purpose. Whiteness in itself having no culture attached to it is so far what has allowed them to make themselves the default or the standard in many spaces. I tend to look at this through the lens of media because that is where my studies primarily in. It is because whiteness has no culture that they're able to mold themselves into other people's cultures, which is why we get so many Egyptian movies with white people as the entire cast, which is why we get so many kung fu movies where they are the center. But nowadays, because whiteness has not allowed itself to be attached to any culture, it is now damaging. Let's look at Disney, for example. At first, it started with princesses like Jasmine, Tiana. Mulan's not a princess, but Mulan is marketing-wise a princess. Because they tied culture to them, there is no way to make them anything else but the culture and race that they are. They cannot be white. And now, with The Little Mermaid, we are seeing a step further. And that is the idea that if there is no cultural significance to a character, whiteness does not have to be the default. And that in itself leaves so many princesses that we would know to be white now up for grabs, because now we can no longer treat white as the default. And because of that, you see so many white people trying to scramble for Ariel to be attached to a culture that is predominantly filled by white people, when nowhere in the movie was she. So no, pointing out that white supremacy is built on the fact that white people have no culture and thus are able to adapt to any other culture does not help them, at least not anymore. It would only help if we were still abiding by the idea that whiteness is the standard and the default. It only helps them if we keep acting as if something has to have a culture to not be white. But now we're entering a space where culture or no culture, that person does not have to be white. So yeah, whiteness bites itself in the ass by being cultureless. That does not help white supremacy.
Yeah, guys, from food and traditions to music and history, we are diving into a complex conversation about race, about heritage, and what it really means to have culture in America. What do you think, guys? Does culture belong to everyone or only some groups? Kindly drop your thoughts in the comments and I'll join the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell button for more thought-provoking comment. Let's get into the remaining clips. I'll be coming back with more commentaries.
Do white people have culture?
Stereotypically, not really.
I'm Russian. Oh, you're Russian. Okay.
Not very much culture.
Okay, so would you say that white culture in Russia is different from white culture in America?
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
So really, there is no such thing as just white culture?
Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what you could define it as.
That is pretty true.
Like a lot of stereotypes about
McDonald's?
American life.
McDonald's? Hot dogs?
Why are Americans the only ones who are denied their culture?
Because to simply put it, Americans don't have culture. There's nothing you can name, no culture that you can name that originates in the North American continent. Well, I say that, but Native Americans, the true inhabitants of America, they have lots of culture. I don't know their culture, but the Native Americans have culture. Well, not you, because you say you're not American, but white Americans have nothing original. They take everything they have from Europe. I don't think there's one American holiday or American tradition you can name that originated with white Americans. It's all from Europe, okay? And at the end you make the point that just because American culture is globalized. No, you took European cultures and then globalized it. That doesn't mean it's yours. You have no culture. White Americans, you have nothing to be proud of, honestly. I think the only white American holiday is the 4th of July. Okay, maybe I was wrong. The 4th of July is the only holiday Americans can actually claim to themselves. My mistake, but even then, shit holiday.
White people don't have any culture. White people don't have any culture. You can't say that. That's racist. No, it's not racist. It's an intentional choice made by your forefathers. The point that you guys always try to make is true. At the beginnings of America, anybody who wasn't a British or American-born white was looked down upon, excluded. So the choice that your forefathers made, that they had the option to make, was an intentional forgetting. Intentionally hid or didn't pass down their accents, stopped eating certain foods, even changed their ethnic sounding names so they could be included into the dominant culture, which was Americanized whiteness. Because they knew with that Americanized whiteness or access to the dominant culture came power and privilege. The same white privilege that y'all try to say don't exist. Because they knew once they erased their insides, no one could tell on the outside. Guess who don't got that choice? The fact that you could forget your culture was a privilege. Congrats, you. Was it a survival tactic? Yes. One that you benefit from to this.
So guys, culture is how we cook, how we speak, how we celebrate, how we mourn, and even dance. But for some reason, when white Americans claim a cultural identity, it often gets laughed off, dismissed, or downright shut down. White culture? That is what people ask. Is there a white culture? That's just mayonnaise and cargo shorts. Another person said that what even is white American culture? Isn't it just taking from everyone else? So guys, these reactions are very much common, but are they fair? Today we are digging deeper. To understand this tension, we need to look at United States history. For centuries, whiteness in America wasn't about culture. It was about power. It was about assimilation and erasure. Yes, many white Americans are descendants of European immigrants, the Irish, Italian, German, Polish, who did have strong cultural identities. But over time, they were encouraged to abandon those identities to fit into an emerging category, that is white. Whiteness became a political and social construct, not a cultural one. It often required shedding the very traditions that defined people's heritage. Yes, so does that mean white Americans don't have a culture? It may not really be exactly that way. There are cultural patterns, regional traditions, foodways, music genres like country and bluegrass, and even specific dialects, especially in the South, Appalachia, and rural Midwest. Yeah, we have, when I was scrolling and perusing through social media, there's someone who said that yeah, I grew up in a small town in Kentucky. We've got our own way of doing things. That is our culture. Oh, yes, but here is the catch. Many of these things are seen as normal or mainstream, which leads some people to dismiss them as not culture at all, that these things are not cultural in any way. So when white Americans say we have culture too, it can feel to some like a way to sidestep conversations about privilege or marginalization. Yes, and there was a tweet that said white culture is equal to colonization in country music. Yeah, so to others, it's a knee-jerk reaction to multiculturalism, a defensive move in a changing society. And then we had a lot of cultural critics. Sometimes people conflate cultural pride with cultural dominance, and that's where things get messy. Yes, so if you are being honest, everyone has a culture, but some cultures have been more visible, some have been more celebrated or protected than others. The real question isn't whether white Americans have a culture. It's whether they are willing to explore it with honesty, whether they are willing to explore it with humility and an understanding of history. Then we had someone say on TikTok comments while I was perusing through that instead of saying we have culture too, maybe just start sharing it. Tell your story on your roots. That is what someone said. So, do white Americans have a culture? Guys, do white Americans have a culture? Yes or no? But it's more complex, more regional, and more intertwined with power that most people realize. You know, culture is not just food or holidays. It's your family's story, your community's rhythms, your identity. And everyone has that, even if it's not always obvious. What do you think, guys? Is white culture real, or is it just a label without meaning? Let's talk about it in the comments, guys. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of this video. This video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Those people who may feel entertained, it is also an entertainment video. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Kindly give this video a thumbs up. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. Kindly share this video for it to get to a wider audience. I love you so much, guys. Peace be with you. Until next time, guys, have a nice time. Bye bye.